and welcome. You're watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint. I am Agam Akil and with me is Alex Matthew. Good afternoon, Alex.
Good afternoon, Agam. Well, if you've got questions on equity, you can send those questions to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and WhatsApp. You can also call us on 022454044141 or you can mail us on askbq@bloombergquint.com. Only make sure to add the AskBQ hashtag.
Well, it's turning out to be a very good session for the benchmark indices with the Nifty advancing by around 1% and, well, building on gains. It's reclaimed 10,700 and it is well above the mark, in fact, by a good 40 odd points too. Sensex is also inching back towards 35,000, rather 36,000. It's about 40 odd points short there as well. The Nifty Banking Index is also up by as much as 0.6%, but if I'm not mistaken, there's been a little bit of a crack in ICICI Bank, which has been so strong. But, let's talk about your some of your key world movers when it comes to gainers and losers, perhaps. And Infosys is now moving back towards 750, up 3%. IndusInd Bank also advancing in trade, and GAIL up and about by as much as 2.6%. In terms of some of your other gainers, if we can take a look at what's actually providing the bulk of these gains, Axis Bank, Hindustan Unilever, that's the heavyweight, which is providing a lot of support. And Tech Mahindra, of course, advancing in trade too. On the losing end, what is it that's bearing down on the indices? Yes Bank down 2.6%. HCL Technologies down 2.5% after the tremendous trend that we saw yesterday. Z Entertainment is the other one, which is buckling under pressure. So we'll be watching out for some of these names here. So Alex, while there is a lot of strength in the benchmarks right now, there is certainly some pressure which is starting to seep into some of these big names.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's the perfect time, in fact, to get our two experts in for the day. We've got Ashish Kelkar of Kiran, Jadhav and Associates and Sandeep Jain of Tradeswift Broking, who are here to answer all of the questions on this program. Let's start with some of the questions that we've received on WhatsApp. Gopala Krishnan has written us a message, and he's holding Dabur at a price of 248, and he only intends to hold it for another month or so. Well, the stock is, as you can see it, at around 430. He's asking if there is the potential for a further upside on this stock. Let's take this query to Ashish then. What's the view on the charts? Is there a potential? He is asking if there's a potential for a 10% upside.
Good afternoon. Yes, the stock is having a potential only above it goes above a level of 438. Overall momentum is bullish, so definitely I would recommend him to hold on with a strict stop loss of 420 on a closing basis. If the price goes above 438, then the first target on the chart can be seen at around 455 to 462. So definitely hold from my side with a stop loss of 420.
Okay, Ashish, if you can come in on something like an HDFC Standard Life. We have a question from Vignesh G, and he wants a short-term view on HDFC Standard Life. His question is, shall I buy now or wait for more correction? It's currently at 369. What is your view here? Ashish, this one is for you. Yes.
Okay. So HDFC Standard Life, yes, it is trying to give us a breakout of the trend reversal price pattern. Currently it is trading at 370. So definitely hold from my side, strict stop loss of 359. The first target which I can see on the chart is at around 390. So around 20 rupees target from here, and the second target would be around 405. So definitely hold with a strict stop loss of 359.
Okay, that's the technical call on HDFC Standard Life. Let's get another question in. We've got Ankur, who's holding 100 shares of United Spirits, and his buy price is around 586. Not a huge loss, but he is losing some ground in United Spirits. Stock is currently trading just about 1% and 0.4% in the red at 540 or thereabouts. Sandeep, come in on this one. One of those stocks that a lot of people have said you can hold for the long term, but what's the rating on the fundamentals as they stand right now, and should he hold on to the investment that he's made?
Yeah, he should continue holding it. Actually, I think in the long run, certainly he will make money in it, and I think 690 to 700 can be the target for say next 6 to 9 months.
Sandeep, do you track Everest Industries? We have a question from Saurabh. He holds Everest Industries at 480. It's currently 453 odd. He wants a view from a 3 to 5 year horizon. What's your view on Everest Industries?
Yeah, certainly it is one of my favorites. In fact, I have recommended this stock a couple of times on your channel before also. And I feel that, it can be a good budget pick rather, because it is true representative of rural consumption in India, then, affordable housing, then the kind of focus the government is having on warehousing and logistics. So this company is also into prefabs and also I feel, one can certainly hold on to the stock. It's a very old company with a great distribution network and good, marquee investors have also invested in the stock and the valuations are also very attractive. So at these levels, he shouldn't worry. I think his entry levels are 480, so it's just 450, 55. So even, if it comes down to say 400 and 425 range, he can think of averaging also. But from here onwards, I think he can certainly stay invested for a target of around 550 to 575.
Now, tomorrow obviously is going to stand out for the fact that the budget will be presented, but also usually on the 1st and the 2nd of the month you have auto sales numbers that come out, and therefore auto sales are going to be auto companies rather are going to be in focus. Maruti Suzuki will definitely be in focus. It's been under pressure of late. The reason I'm talking about this is because we've got Piyush, who's holding Maruti Suzuki at a level of 6,575. And he's asking what he can do, because even from those lower levels, and if you can pull up the longer term charts for Maruti Suzuki, these would be considered lower levels. If you look at the last year or so, it's fallen from levels of close to 10,000 and he's lost ground even from the investment level that he has entered in. So Sandeep, is there a further downside that you're seeing for Maruti Suzuki? Or do you think that they've more or less bottomed out and somebody who's bought at levels of, say, 6,500 or thereabouts should continue to hold for the long term, perhaps even add more?
See, for the long-term horizon, certainly one can continue holding it. But then, I'll not be very confident in saying that, it has bottomed out, because the kind of numbers the company has been giving or the sector has been giving, so they are not all that, good. So when it was, say, 6,500 3 months back, I still had, the courage to say that he can, continue holding it, and it has kind of bottomed out also. But again, it has retested the same levels after, going up to the levels of 7,500 plus. So I think it will take some time now, take some more quarters from here onwards for, for the prices to go up. So I think he should continue holding it, but then he should stay away from averaging at this level. I think 5,800 to 6,000 can be a level where one can certainly look for some averaging, but otherwise for the long term he shouldn't panic.
Okay. All right, I'm going to take a look at TCS. We have a question on YouTube from Ashwini Upadhyay, and he wants a view on TCS, which has been bought at 1,910, currently around 2,002. I think we're going to take a technical view here. Ashish, what's your view on TCS, one of the few stocks which is holding on in these markets? How would you place your bets here?
See, I would definitely hold on to the stock, because currently it is in a sideways trend, and in sideways trend, generally I recommend not to exit immediately. The first resistance which I can see on the chart is 2030. If the price goes above 2030, then definitely there will be a strong momentum in this particular counter, and in that case, the first target would be around 2,120 rupees. So definitely hold from my side. If it crosses 2030, then someone can go ahead and buy or add more. Currently, hold with a strict stop loss of 1960.
All right. Let's talk about ICICI Bank. It's been in focus. Akshay Mittal is asking what the right price is to buy ICICI Bank. The stock has declined after initial gains in the session, currently about 2.5% down, in fact. But Sandeep, for a period of 2 years, based on all the updates that you heard yesterday as well, would you recommend a fresh entry into ICICI Bank?
Yeah, one can certainly make a fresh entry, but let it stabilize first, because since last 2-3 days it has been going up. Then the numbers were good. Yesterday the numbers really came up well. So I think from there it went up also today, but then some profit booking is being seen. And somehow regarding fundamentals, I think, the things are changing and the asset quality is also getting better. So he shouldn't worry. But then, when it comes to say around 315 to 20 levels, that can be a good level to enter, say another 5 to 10% of correction, because these are some heavy weighted stocks and where, the market's correct and when the sentiments are not very good. So, these stocks tend to correct. So that can be a good time, when these stocks get corrected with the markets. So at these, volatile times, I think, fresh entry won't be recommended at this level, but certainly it is a buy on decline from my side.
Okay, let's move on and talk about another stock from the consumer durable space. Sandeep, I'll take this one up with you. If you do track Johnson Controls, Hitachi, they need a long-term view. Is this part of your radar? And if not, what's your view on the sector in general?
Yeah, certainly it is one of my stocks which is on radar, and in fact it has also corrected. This stock was being recommended by me at say around 1800, 1900 levels, then it went up to say 2400, 2700 rather. But then from there onwards it has started correcting, and I feel it is one of the best companies in its segment and a great brand also. So I feel, those who have actually invested, they can think of some averaging also at some declines. But then again, it all depends on the market sentiments also, but it's a great stock to hold.
Ashish, this is a short-term query from Aditya on Welspun Enterprises. He's holding at levels of 118 and he's holding as many as 1,000 shares. He's asking what the call is here. Should he hold on or should he sell at a loss?
See, basically, the stock is in a complete bear grip. It is making lower tops and lower bottoms, and the shadow indicators are also negative. Only one positive thing which I can see on the chart is the base formation. Currently, the chart is forming. The candles are forming at the base, and the base formation is at around 89 or 89-90 levels. So if he has a medium term to long term horizon, I would recommend him to hold on with a strict stop loss of 89. And on the higher side, it has to break a very important level, which is 106. If 106 is taken off, then definitely there will be a strong pullback rally, and in that case he can think of getting out of this particular counter at around, and the target would be at around 120. So as of now, hold with a strict stop loss of 89 on a closing basis.
Okay, well, we have an interesting question on Facebook from Rangarajan. This is with respect to the budget. Well, his question actually is, please comment on the interim budget and will it have a market impact? And well, Rangarajan, I don't know what your time horizon is, but of course, one of the stocks that you have mentioned as well is ITC for delivery. Now, I can tell you this, that ITC usually moves on budget days when there is a tinkering in the excise and cess for cigarettes. Of course, cigarettes being the largest contributor to ITC's revenues at this point in time. However, as per expectations, there isn't going to be any big change with respect to the taxation applied on cigarettes, but that is only as far as analysts' view is concerned. You never know. You may actually have some change with respect to, well, when it comes to cess levied on cigarettes. That said, I am going to extend this to Sandeep and take his view as well. Sandeep, keeping in mind the budget, how would you address ITC right now? Or, is there anything that you're working with? And perhaps if you could just tell us about the long-term prospects of ITC as well.
Somehow I'm quite bullish on ITC. I have recommended this stock, from 250-60 levels, and it went up to 300 plus levels also, around 300 levels. But then, after the results, it has corrected also. I feel that, at these levels, it really gives a comfort in terms of, valuations also, and that, taxation thing. I don't think, something of that sort will be, touched upon in this budget. So I think, even if it is, then it might correct also, but that can be a good opportunity because, see, cigarettes certainly is a big, contributor to the revenues of ITC. But then the kind of growth they are, witnessing, they are showing in the non-cigarette segment, that is also very impressive. So I feel, one can continue holding it, and if it corrects by any chance, then one can, buy on declines also. And from my side, it is a buy at these levels also because the valuations are extremely cheap as compared to other peers.
All right, let's pull up Ashok Leyland and look at the last 3 months or 6 months or so, just to give an indication as to how the stock is trading. That weakness continues in the stock. In fact, it hit a 52-week low today as well, having breached that 80 mark. It hit a low of 79.55 in trade today, down about 28.5% for the last 6 months or so. You'll have to watch for the sales numbers that come out at the start of February to get a sense of how the trajectory is going. But on the charts, we've got a question from Janardhan on Ashok Leyland. Can Janardhan make a fresh entry is the question. The plan is to buy 1,000 shares. Ashish, does that weakness continue, or do you see some respite on Ashok Leyland?
I don't know his horizon for investment, but overall chart structure is looking very bad. Currently, it has given us a breakout of descending triangle pattern formation, which has a bearish implication. And the next target which I can see on the chart would be around 74, 73 odd level. So another 6 to 7 rupees fall is expected. So I would not recommend a fresh entry as of now. Till the time there is no trend reversal pattern, I will be not comfortable in buying this particular counter because the weakness would continue. So I would not recommend to a fresh entry.
On technical level, Alex, I've spoken to a few other technical analysts, and none of them are suggesting any bottom fishing whatsoever in Ashok Leyland. There certainly are lower levels in store for Ashok Leyland, but this is again their point of view. But moving on.
Interestingly, this was actually pointed out a couple of weeks back by BQ Edge.
BQ Edge.
And Kanan has been doing quite a few stocks.
Yes.
So in case you guys are interested, you should check out BQ Edge on the website, bloombergquint.com. Perhaps a lead indicator in some senses to where a few stocks could be headed. So,
and this is, of course, purely on the back of futures and options, particularly options and how things are panning out. But we'll move on to the other topical stock here. We have Harshavardhan on Facebook, and he wants to know what has gone fundamentally wrong with Diwan Housing Finance and Dilip Bilkon. These are the two stocks that he wants an idea. Diwan Housing Finance is currently taking a knock of 14% right now, at 138. The management came out with some clarifications after, certain other media entities have, come up with, certain allegations, but that hasn't really stopped the stock from falling further. Dilip Bilkon, of course, is currently at around 331. It's advancing by 1% today. Sandeep, let me take both these stocks up with you. How are you reading into these big moves?
See, as far as Dilip Bilkon is concerned, I was always not very comfortable with, the kind of valuations the company was given, and fine, the growth was there, everything is there. But then, when it comes to some kind of, politically sensitive stocks, and particularly in the road sector, the companies are not doing well. So it was always a sell from my side, it was never a buy. And then as far as DHFL is concerned, I feel that, there is something fishy somewhere, and, some other media has also actually talked about it. And then, the management also came up with some kind of, clarifications, but that didn't work. And I feel that, if all these are actually true, the market might be sensing much more than that. So I feel, it can correct up to the levels of 120 also. And in the last 3 months also, after the results, in the last quarter, the disbursements are extremely bad. So I think, one should stay away from fresh buying or some bottom fishing. Those who are actually holding it, those who are unlucky and are holding it, they can continue holding it. But then they should certainly look for some exit on the bounce. Whenever there is a bounce, there might be some bounce, being witnessed, because after such a sharp correction, there might be some bounce because it's an F&O stock. So I think one should certainly try to exit the stock.
All right. Well, intraday, 14% more is the cuts that you're seeing in Diwan Housing. Let's take another question. This one from Mohammad Zamir. He's asking the view on V-Mart. He hasn't specified. Mohammed, you haven't specified what your time horizon is, so I'm assuming that you're asking based on how it's trading on the charts. It's about 1.6% higher in trade today. But Ashish, on the charts, what levels would you look for if you're talking about V-Mart retail?
See, overall chart structure is very good. It has just started clocking the higher highs. So definitely I would recommend to hold on if his position is open. Fresh entry is also suggested at this current levels. Strict stop loss should be at 24.90 and the first target would be 2690.
All right. We have Sai on WhatsApp who wants a view on Vakrangi. He's holding Vakrangi at 39. His question is hold or sell. Actually, let me take a fundamental view here because clearly it's on an upper circuit right now when it comes to your technicals. Sandeep, can you come in on Vakrangi and how this one stands for you now?
See, for me, this stock was anyways an exit and a big sell, and whatever prices it were, and the kind of governance issues the company has shown, I think one should not think of even buying at the lower levels also, because there are so many issues. So what I'll suggest him is, if he is in profits, he can book the profits and try to be cautious in the future, not to enter into these kind of controversial stories. There are much more better safer bets in the markets where one can certainly go in. There are very good examples of good corporate governance companies like TCS, Infosys. These are some good buys one can certainly look at when they correct. So it's a big avoid from my side.
Okay, in the context of the budget, Sandeep, we've got two questions on one sector, of course, that will be in focus. We've got Vikas, who's holding 400 shares of Aries Agro at 150, and we've got Arumoga, who's holding Nagarjuna Fertilizers at level of 12. Now, I do not know if you can give a view on these two particular counters, but broadly, if you were to talk about the space in the fertilizer space and chemical space, or maybe some of those agri commodities and some of the stocks that could be impacted, what is the advice that you would give to people who are looking to invest at this moment?
You're right. In fact, on both of these stocks, I will not be able to comment, but then I will certainly look at the fertilizer sector. And the best part about this sector is, even in budget expectations also, the stocks have not gone up. And like RCF, it's still trading at 62. That's a great level, to enter the stock. The risk reward ratios are very good. 55 to 58 is a very good range where, it takes support. And the kind of land story the company has, and somehow, fertilizer stocks will do well. UPL is again a good story, which I look at, I think, there are results also for UPL today. So I'm bullish on the stock. It might correct also after the results because it has gone up ahead of the results. So lots of times, post results, they tend to correct. But then UPL, and then one stock is Excel Industries in the agri-chemical space one can look at. So all these 2-3 stocks can be looked at. Then GSFC is a good stock. Chambal I have recommended before also, and I feel that Chambal is a very good story to ride on the fertilizer story. But then I would certainly recommend him not to look at stories like Nagarjuna Fertilizer or Deepak Fertilizer. There are better stocks in the sector, so why to go for these smaller names?
On Twitter, we have Jainam Sangvi, who has a question on DHFL. That's Diwan Housing Finance. Jainam, we've already addressed Diwan Housing Finance, but we will take your query on Axis Bank. And the question here is, what is the possible upside here? So let's take a technical view, because it's at 704, one of the few stocks that are doing well in today's day of trade, advancing by as much as 2%. Ashish, come in on Axis Bank. How would you trade this counter now? What levels would you watch out for?
See, the overall chart structure is very bullish. It is trying to give us a breakout of multiple tops. So when the multiple top is broken out, then definitely the upside potential is huge. So someone is holding, definitely hold on to the stock. If someone wants to enter into the stock, go ahead and buy right now. A strict stop loss should be on the 692 levels. 682 levels, and the first target which I can see on the chart would be 735, and the second target would be 760 in next 2.5 months.
Well, Shalom Ranga has got a pretty broad question for you, Sandeep. And Shalom, just a quick point, while Sandeep can give you a few ideas for your portfolio, you would do well to do your own research and find out whether these are the best fits for you. Sandeep, his question is specifically to name a few stocks. He's asking for 10. Of course, it will be difficult for you to identify that many, but a handful of stocks that you would hold for the very long term in your portfolio.
Stocks have actually corrected, and at this point of time, somehow I'm still scared to build a fresh portfolio. And those who are holding good quality stocks, they should continue holding it. But then for fresh entries, I think I will certainly look for some good corrected stocks which are fundamentally very good, given good result, and then they are showing good growth also in the past and has potential to grow also. So one of those stocks is ITC. I have talked about, since it has corrected, and I feel that it's a great story again, and the valuations are also very cheap. Then I talked about RCF also. This is also one story where the risk reward ratio is very good and very attractive. So I think one can look at RCF also. I talked about Everest Industries. Coincidentally, I have really talked about all these stocks in last 15 to 20 minutes during the show itself. Then Everest is also a good buy. Then what I will suggest is one can look at Bamar Lorry. PSU stocks are not doing well, but then Bamar Lorry is a very good story. Again, it has corrected. So at these levels, somehow it looks very attractive. And again, the risk reward ratios are also very good. And then last but not the least, what I feel is one stock is Emphasis. It has actually corrected. One can buy Emphasis also. Then NIIT Limited. Looking at NIIT Technologies, it is actually hitting new 52-week highs. One can look at NIIT Limited also, because NIIT Limited is looking for, diluting its stake in, selling its stake in NIIT Technologies. So it can be a big, value unlocking for the investor. So NIIT Limited can also be invested.
Okay, well, a bunch of ideas coming in from Sandeep, actually a whole host of ideas coming in from Sandeep, and a lot of these names which we have tracked here as well. But on that note, I'm going to thank both our experts, Sandeep and Ashish, for joining us and taking helping our viewers with all their queries. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Ask BQ.
Do remember, always, we're just a tweet, post or call away, so do keep your queries coming, and we promise to address as many of them as possible on our shows. For all the previous episodes, you can visit our YouTube channel, or you can visit the website bloombergquint.com for that and a lot more, especially with the budget coming up. Do stay tuned. Up next is Power Lunch. This is Bloomberg Quint.